The old man, Kalen, said the sea had a heartbeat. He claimed that if you pressed your ear to the salt-sprayed cliffs at the lowest tide, you could feel it, a slow, deep thrum that resonated in your bones. It was the rhythm of the ocean's heart, he'd say, and the giant whales were its voice. But the voice had grown quiet over the years, the heartbeat faint. The people of Port Blossom, a village clinging to the edge of a vast, churning ocean, had once lived in harmony with the Leviathans. These were not ordinary whales. They were creatures of impossible scale, their bodies larger than any ship, their eyes holding the wisdom of millennia. They were the architects of currents, the painters of the seafloor with their colossal movements, and their songs were said to mend the very fabric of the world. Elara, Kalen's granddaughter, had only ever heard stories. She'd traced the intricate whale carvings on the village totem, her fingers lingering on the swirling patterns that depicted the Leviathan's songs as waves of light and color. Kalen told her that each family in Port Blossom was bonded to a specific Leviathan, a silent pact that had lasted for generations. Their whale was named Lumina, for the bioluminescent patterns that would dance across her immense body in the deep. But Lumina had not been seen in Elara's lifetime. The sea had grown colder, the fish scarcer, and a creeping silence had settled over the deep. The vibrant coral reefs that once fringed their shores had turned a ghostly white. The old man said the world was losing its memory, that the silence of the whales was a symptom of a deeper sickness. One evening, as a bruised purple twilight settled over the ocean, a tremor ran through the village. It wasn't an earthquake. It was a sound, a single, mournful note that seemed to come from the very soul of the sea. It was a whale song, but fractured, weak, and filled with a sorrow that made the windows of the cottages rattle. Kalen stumbled out of their small home, his face pale. "It is ascending," he whispered, his voice trembling. "A final call." Elara's heart pounded. She knew what she had to do. That night, she provisioned her small, sturdy boat, the Tide Dancer, with supplies, glowing moss for light, preserved fish, and a small, intricately carved whale flute her grandmother had left her. As the twin moons cast a silver path across the water, she set sail, following the echo of that heartbreaking song. For days, she sailed into the vast, unending blue. The silence was profound, broken only by the creak of her boat and the sigh of the wind. She played her grandmother's flute, its reedy notes a lonely question cast into the abyss. On the third day, a shadow fell over her. Looking up, she saw a shape so immense it blotted out the sun. It was a Leviathan, but not Lumina. Its skin was scarred and pale, its movements sluggish. Its song was the one she had heard, a dirge of pain and loss. The great whale led her on, a silent, sorrowful guide. They journeyed to a place the old charts called the Sunken Cathedral, a place of myth where the Leviathans were said to gather. As she approached, she saw them. Dozens of them, lying motionless in a deep ocean trench, their colossal forms like fallen mountains. The water was cold, unnaturally so, and a strange, dark blight crept across the seabed, smothering the life from it. In the center of the gathering was Lumina. Her beautiful, light-filled patterns were dim, flickering like a dying candle. A massive, shadowy shape was latched onto her side, a parasitic creature of darkness, something the old tales called a sorrow kelp. It was feeding on her light, on her very life, and in doing so, silencing her song. The blight on the seafloor emanated from it. Elara knew her small boat and her own strength were nothing against such a creature. But Kalen had always told her that the bond between their family and Lumina was not one of strength, but of harmony. She remembered the carvings on the totem, the songs depicted not as sound, but as light. With trembling hands, she took out the whale flute. She closed her eyes and thought of all the stories of the vibrant reefs, of the sea's strong heartbeat, of the love her people had for these gentle giants. She began to play, not a song of sorrow, but a melody of hope, of life, of the world as it should be. The notes flowed from the flute, not as mere sound, but as shimmering pulses of golden light that danced in the water. At first, nothing happened. The sorrow kelp seemed to ignore the gentle melody. But then Lumina's eye, a vast orb of ancient intelligence, opened and fixed on Elara. A flicker of her own bioluminescence answered the flute's call. Elara played on, pouring all her hope and courage into the music. The light from her flute grew brighter, weaving with Lumina's faint glow. Then another Leviathan stirred, its own internal light pulsing in time with the music. Soon, another joined and another, until the entire Sunken Cathedral was filled with a soft, rhythmic tide of light, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. The sorrow kelp recoiled from the unified, brilliant light. The harmony of the song was anathema to its nature of despair. With a silent, agonizing shriek that sent vibrations through the water, it detached from Lumina, its shadowy form dissolving into the brilliance of the whale's combined song. As the last of the blight faded, a sound began to build, starting with Lumina. It was a song unlike any Elara had ever heard. It was a symphony of immense power and profound gratitude, a chorus that resonated not in her ears, but in her very soul. The sea's heartbeat returned, strong and sure, and the water around her warmed with renewed life. Her journey back to Port Blossom was one of wonder. Pods of dolphins leaped in her wake, and the sea shimmered with a vitality she had never known. When her boat finally graced the shores of her home, Kalen was waiting, his eyes wet with tears. He had heard it. The whole village had. The song of the Leviathans had returned, and with it, the promise of a future where the sea and its people could heal together. Elara looked out at the horizon, the whale flute warm in her hands, and knew that the voice of the sea would never be silenced again.